I am John Kaiser, here in Vancouver at the Metals Investor Forum on Saturday, January 20th, talking with Wayne Hubert, CEO of InZinc Mining. Wayne, welcome to Vancouver.
Thank you, John.
Wayne, you were the CEO of a company called Andean Resources, which in 2010, I believe, was bought out by Goldcorp for about $3.6 billion. And that was, of course, a huge score. It was before the whole market went back into the tank. You've been in semi-retirement. Your voicemail says living the good life. Yes. And yet, 3 months ago, you went from being a passive director and shareholder in InZinc Mining to take on the role of CEO. And the first big task you had to do was raise $3.5 million to fund an expansion exploration program on the project, which shareholders and everybody have been waiting for a long time. And you quickly discovered that this was very different from when you were at Andean, when you could snap your fingers and have $300 million in the bank almost overnight. And here you had to raise a hundredth of that, and it turned out to be an ordeal. What has motivated you to stop living the good life and take on this role with InZinc Mining?
Yeah, good question. And what happened at Andean, we had, I think when I joined Andean, it was a $50 million company. It grew to something through exploration to $3.5 billion. And through that, it was a really exciting process. It really impacted me. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, a lot of hard work. And then in 2010, when we were taken over, I thought, okay, now I'm going to live the good life, and I am going to go and I'm going to surf, and I'm going to do the things that I've always wanted to do. I did that for probably a year, and I realized that it was kind of like a hollow victory. And I realized that I missed the rush and the excitement and of being in the industry. I really lived off it, and so I started getting back in directors' roles, and so I got on the board on InZinc probably in about 2013, and I watched and looked at the project, and I had that same gut feel I had at Andean and at Meridian Gold before. And when the opportunity came up this year to take on the role, I was excited by it. I had that gut feel that this is going to be something we can take and we can make a significant project out of it.
Now, the company had published a PEA, I think, in 2012, which basically the message was it's not economic. You need to either find more ore or you need a substantially better metal price. The company rethought the mining plan and published one in 2014 using $Zinc as a base case price. It sort of looked okay, but the market yawned and said this is not interesting. I recently reran the numbers of your PEA using current prices like $1.50 zinc, $3.15 or so copper, and it now clears all the hurdles of stuff like the after-tax NPV at a reasonable discount rate, matching or exceeding the capital cost. It's got a very nice internal rate of return at that price, and I'm thinking, if zinc went back to $1 and this big rally that we're seeing, what would you do, like say 2 months from now, if say we've got a big economic downturn and zinc has plunged back to $1?
Yeah, I mean, I look at the economic outlook and I think that it's a possibility, but I think we're going to have a stronger recovery here. I think we're going to have a good market for a while. However, one of the things that I've done, and this is important, is to have a robust project to me. And so when I looked at the resource, it's the 80-20 rule. 20% of the ore is going to produce 80% of the profits. We looked at that, and there's a high-grade core here at InZinc in the West Desert project where we have 10 million tons running probably 9-10% zinc equivalent. That core, I think, is what is going to create and the exploration potential. If we can double the size of that core, we have a robust project that can handle any zinc price, most zinc prices. Reasonable zinc prices.
So this involves going into the existing skarn-hosted deposit and doing more detailed drilling and teasing out the high grade and changing the numbers of the resource that you already have. However, as I understand, this $3.5 million that you raised, only the last part of it is going to go into that. The first part is to step out to the northeast where previous operators had some deep holes that got some very intriguing snippets. So my question here is why did these past operators never follow up this stuff to the east of the deposit under the old Utah silver mine? And when you mentioned earlier about with Andean, you just had this gut feel. Surely that wasn't just a gut feel that gold price was going to go up and drag what you had way into the money. It had to do with expanding what
Absolutely.
you had. So I'm wondering, does that experience there map to what you're feeling about West Desert?
Absolutely. There is a hole that's 650 meters further to the east that has given me some confidence that there's more there. And that's the whole trick, is through exploration, can we make this thing a much more significant project? You know, I see today, at today's price, is $2 per share in value, you know, using the PEA numbers. But I think it can be a lot more significant. We have, I think, a senior project trapped in a junior, and that has been the challenge for the last 10 years, is that they deep holes, 700, you've got to go 700 meters down, so that's almost a 1,000-meter hole that you have to drill. And that is what has prevented, I think, previous operators here being able to do that. But we've raised the money, and we're going to do it. And so I think the potential is that we can expand this. And if you look at that intercept, that massive sulfide intercept, it's probably $300-400 rock that we hit. And can we expand that and make the project much more significant? And that's what my gut feel tells me we can.
Yeah, I understand your comment about this being a senior project in a junior company. I have followed this company for a decade. My audience is a retail investor, sort of high, sophisticated, high net worth type investor, and it has been frustrating because no brokerage analyst has ever covered this story and no other newsletter writer has ever covered it. Given your connections with the whole brokerage community and all the institutions and that, will you be able to bring this story to a deeper pocketed audience that can start raising or providing the capital that if you get a discovery hole, you're going to need a lot more than $3 million. You're going to need 10 million plus. And then when you do retreat back to the West Desert deposit to start pushing that towards pre-feasibility, where you're going to need maybe $20 million, do you feel that you will be able to pull in that audience and take it out of this senior project in a junior company trap that it's been in for 10 years?
Absolutely. And we've started kind of, with a retail audience, but I think the institutions that succeeded with me at Andean, the issue is we're too small for a lot of those institutions to get involved in. But if we do have discovery holes, there will be people taking notice. Currently, if you buy a share of InZinc, you are paying 1 penny per pound of zinc. So it's very cheap. But for big institutions to come in and get involved, it's too small a story. So the goal is to be able to drill and have a successful exploration program here starting in March. And once we start getting drill results from that, we'll be able to go to some of those institutions. And there are some that participate in this recent financing, but I think there'll be more willing to come in as we get institutionally the right size.
Now, the PEA targeted the sulfide resource, and therefore it was an underground mine, 6,500 tons per day. The deep drilling is also going to be an underground deposit if there is something there. But there is also a significant zinc oxide resource at surface. Now, zinc oxide has its metallurgical challenges, but we are in a state that is relatively friendly. I visited the project. There's really nobody's backyard anywhere fronting on this that's going to protest. At what point would you consider looking at the zinc oxide as a potential open pit mine in addition to an underground sulfide mine?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think we've had some fertilizer operators in California contact us. And so we have a broker, and we're looking at that kind of an alternative down the road, because people need zinc because it improves the yields in their crops, especially in the almond crops. And so that would be something we will look at down the road for sure. And we'll be drilling through the oxide to get to the sulfide anyway, so we'll be able to get more information on that.
So the agricultural industry needs a form of zinc that isn't refined zinc, so that you don't have the huge cost of converting the oxide to sulfide for smelting?
Correct.
Good. All right. I have been in Vancouver talking to Wayne Hubert, CEO of InZinc Mining. Thank you, Wayne.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.